Today we are going to be taking a look at Take 5 by the Dave Brubeck Quartet, which I think is like the best-selling jazz single maybe ever. At least it was at some point. What's fascinating to me about this particular piece is that it doesn't immediately strike you as being in a complex meter. Most music in 5 sounds a little bit off balance to me, but this is really smooth. You kind of have to actually really listen to it before you realize that it's not quite symmetrical, which is what I think that the best uses of complex meters do. So today I would like to figure out why it works as well as it does. And as always, analysis starts with listening. So if you'd like to do your own analysis of this piece, make sure to listen to it in its entirety before you start any analysis. The link is in the description below if you'd like to listen to it. Of course, it's always helpful to have the score on hand, which is why I have gotten the Take 5 score from today's sponsor, Noteflight. Noteflight is an online music notation software that lets you get started making music for free. It's got a lot of cool features, but the best features are found in Noteflight Premium. In addition to the advanced notation tools, my personal favorite feature is the access that you get to over 80,000 digital scores that come from the Hal Leonard collection. Not only do you have access, but all of these scores are editable. So you can create your own custom versions and arrangements, which we will do here in a little bit. This is a great software if you're looking to get into the world of music notation. Noteflight Premium is only $49 for a full year, but you can get your first month for free in the description below. So thanks to my friends at Noteflight for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get to some music. Today we're going to be zooming in specifically on the backbone of this piece, which is the 5/4 ostinato. It plays the entire time. Really, it's 2 ostinatos, one on the piano and one in the drums. If you have not encountered 5/4 before, it's a measure of 5 beats where the quarter note gets the beat. Commonly, you'll see it divided as a group of 3 and a group of 2, or as a group of 2 and a group of 3. So let's look at the piano part first. I would definitely call this a group of 3 and then a group of 2. We have 2 figures, right here and right here. And this one takes 3 beats, and the second one takes 2 beats. But the drums that actually open the piece are slightly different than the piano part. There are 2 evenly spaced snare hits that are really fascinating to me. I think if you just isolate it, it kind of gives the appearance of like a 3/4 waltz sort of thing. So that's what is happening, but to get a better feel for this, I'd like to look at it from a few different angles. And one of the questions that I like to ask as I'm analyzing a piece is, why did they specifically choose to do it the way that they did? What would happen if they didn't do it that way and they chose something else? So for this piece, what if it was not a complex meter, but it was either in 3 or in 4? And as I mentioned before, we can actually use Noteflight to edit the score to hear what that would sound like. So here we have an example in 3. So let's take a look of what it would sound like if it was in 3. So what I've done is I've kept the first figure where it is, but then I had to add a beat to that second figure. So now we're just in a straight 3/4. Let's hear what that sounds like. One other way that we could make this a 3/4 measure is we could just take that first figure and have it repeat over and over. And that would sound like this. And here we have an example in 4. I definitely think because of this figure being 3 beats long that it's going to be more compelling in 3, but here it is if it was in 4. So that basically what we did is we just made that second figure a beat long. And yeah, it's just not quite as effective, is it? It's not as compelling. Having tried all of those things, I have 2 observations as to why I think this works as well as it does. Number 1, the rhythm is swung, which I kind of think blurs the fact that this meter isn't symmetrical. Let's hear it with straight 8th notes. Wow, that felt wrong to even listen to. So yes, I definitely think that the swung 8th notes is a big factor. Number 2, I think that the group of 2 that ends the measure is really what makes this 5 work so well. Particularly the 4th beat. It gets just slightly more weight than the other left-hand notes. You've got da-da-ba-da-ba-da-boo-ba-ba-da-da-da, right? Just slightly more weight. The other thing is that these last 2 beats, beat 4 and 5, they really lead us back to the downbeat. They give us a nice arrival point back at beat 1. It's like da-da-da, da-da-da, right? This motion back to the downbeat is also reinforced by the fact that the solo starts on beat 4 and also leads us to the downbeat. So those are 2 really cool observations there that we've made about this ostinato. But now that we've figured out why we think that it works, I'd like to draw some connections. Remember, the connections that we're looking for can either be internal, like within the piece itself, or external, which is with another piece of music. And we're examining these 3 statements. X is like Y, X is not like Y, or X is Y. You don't necessarily have to find all 3 of these connections. It's awesome if you do, but I like to focus on the ones that I think have the most meaning. As far as internal connections go, these ostinatos kind of go throughout the entire piece. So, X is Y in that the ostinato continues the entire time. So really, for this piece, we're going to be looking for external connections. And the first thing that comes to my mind here is the Mission Impossible theme song, and that would be an X is like Y connection. This score is also available on Noteflight. You can see once again we're in 5/4, and once again we have a group of 3 and a group of 2. See those accent marks on the group of 2, which really delineates them from the group of 3 and those dotted quarters. And once again, we have that group of 2 leading us back to the downbeat. Da, 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 da. So group of 3, group of 2, the group of 2 leads us to the downbeat. So really quite similar. Now that I'm looking at it, these 2 are just strikingly close. I've never noticed that before. I'm about to try something. I'm going to play the Mission Impossible theme song with the drum part of take 5. Here we go. All right, that worked really well, so I'm going to do something else. Let's put them in the same key. We'll put that melody up an octave. Oh yes. Fantastic. That's amazing. I love that. Okay, so you can totally play the Mission Impossible theme song on top of take 5. Who knew? This is why I love music analysis. Okay, so that is an X is like Y connection. Now, the goal here is not to find every single connection that you could possibly come up with in music history, just whatever's off the top of your head, so that you can start to draw some connections between the piece you're looking at and other pieces you already know. So in conclusion, if I wanted to write something in 5, or if I wanted to play something in 5, how can I take what we've learned today and apply it practically? So if I'm writing something in 5, I'm going to want to play around with how I can emphasize different groups of 3 and 2, remembering that a pull towards the downbeat works really well. And if I'm playing in 5, then I'm going to want to keep in mind that sort of gravity that's leading us to the downbeat. Our ears are always looking for a place to land, whether that be melodically or harmonically, rhythmically. We're looking for a place to land. Where is the arrival? Keeping this particular thing in mind can make our compositions, our arrangements, and our performances much more compelling. So that is a bit of a closer look into Take 5 by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. Let me know down in the comments what observations you have about this piece, or let me know how you see 5/4, just philosophically or practically. And I will see you next time.